The following roster and modding were provided by a willing individual. All remarks are meant for enjoyment and educational purposes.
Welcome back to the class, everyone. We have another mod shaming video for everyone, and as a reminder, this is for educational purposes, and we're trying to have a little bit of fun with it too. What we're going to do today is we're going to actually be looking at a Jedi Knight Luke team and advising how that modding can be better, what's wrong with it, where we can pull those mods from, etc. If you too would like your team to be mod shamed, not just Jedi Knight Luke, but any team, do hop into the Discord, and there'll be instructions in the channel for mod shaming entries. With that being said, let's go ahead and get to some shaming. So this is what we got, and the team is going to look a little bit different than most. This player is more of a mid-game player. They're still building the roster, so the team isn't going to look like all of the other Jedi Knight Luke teams, and he's talked about, or he's given us the 5 characters he wants us to really hone in on, and that is going to be Jedi Knight Luke himself, Jolie, which is a little bit different from most, but he doesn't have Jedi Knight Revan, so it kind of makes sense, as well as Hoda, GMY, and finally Old Ben. So let's just go ahead and get started off with the leader. Obviously, we're going to be using Jedi Knight Luke lead out of all these. And Jedi Knight Luke lead is pretty good for a lot of mid-tier teams. He doesn't really have what it takes to punch up against GLs because of the limitations that his lead pretty much tells him that he can't. That being said, he is a really good damage dealer, and he kind of wants to be slow. There's two kind of philosophies when it comes to Jedi Knight Luke's speed, and our mod shaming guy here kind of falls in the middle. You can either drag him down as low as possible so that you can, when he goes from his leadership, he can reduce everyone's speed to his own, or really you can just kind of leave him at a normal speed of something like 200, and at the end of the day he's still taking just as many turns as there, if not more so, because of the way he gains turn meter and speed. So I'm not going to say that he has to be at 110 speed. I do see the value in that, but 60 speed is also okay, especially when we have units on the team such as Grandmaster Yoda or Hoda that are going to be going at 300. Overall, he looks pretty darn stellar. This mod, the only reason why I would consider taking this one off is because there's other characters that need plus 15s more. But for the most part, the heavy emphasis on offense, like this one right here, this is great. I do prefer protection on him over health just because of how he gains stacking protection in his kit. It also makes max health damaged on him not nearly as effective when he has that much protection. Other mod, really good. We've got a lot of crit chance, a lot of offense on here. Not a whole lot of speed, which is, again, kind of what we're going for. Love, love, love this. This is great. Offense primary on Jedi Knight Luke, very valuable. And here, this is where we start to get to the shaming. Offense primary on the triangle, for me, this is a pretty hard no for 2 reasons. Number 1, Jedi Knight Luke as a Jedi has a ton of ways to gain offense, both within his kit and outside of it. Jedi's will adds a flat 50% offense boost, as well as he gets stacking offense from his unique, and there's just other outside sources, like Hoda can give Master's Training, or Grandmaster Yoda, he can give offense up. So you have all these ways of making your base offense huge. What you really want is to multiply it by a giant multiplier being crit damage. So this one needs to be crit damage. This mod isn't garbage. This can go on a troop or a character like Dark Trooper if you're eventually going to work towards him at one point. And worst case scenario, 6 dots are great on pilots. So that's really my only suggestion here. If you can get a slower one here and just give this to a character who wants speed more, that's also fine. I will say I like where his crit chance is at overall. He gets 30% from his lead, which is enough to kind of mitigate a lot of the crit avoidance that a lot of characters have nowadays. And I will finally say, you could also make a really good argument for a crit damage set over the offense set, but these mods are really too close to ideal that I would probably just go and try to change this one out as best you can. So that is going to be Jedi Knight Luke as pretty much our damage dealer. Next up, we're going to go to Grandmaster Yoda. Now, with Grandmaster Yoda, there are a few schools of thought on how he should be modded, and the 2 biggest ones is pure offense and pure speed. I think you can kind of go either way with Jedi Knight Luke lead. I tend to dip a little bit more towards speed just because to watch Grandmaster go 1,000 times, and he also gains a ton of turn meter, and then looping back around the Jedi, I think it's Heroes Arise or Jedi's Will, the buff they all get, that really it ends up being his major place here. There is also a good argument for offense because he gains so much turn meter, he doesn't really need to be moving, But at the same time, Jedi Luke is going to be the one who's going to do the vast majority of damage, and you really don't have to worry about timing out from lack of damage, because Jedi Luke will just reduce everyone's max health and max protection into oblivion. So overall, I do think you need to make kind of a decision here and commit to one or the other. We have some pretty good speed mods. This one, we need improvement here. This needs to be higher than 9, especially because, and this is a little bit of a spoiler, we've already looked ahead, your Hoda is not that fast. So one of these characters has to be pushing out the gate, that has to be going before everyone else, because if they don't go before anyone else, that's how Giant Luke team dies, whether on offense or defense. If troopers or whatever it is can go before them, Bad Batch, they can just really wreck the team, because they can get their own turn meter train going before that, and then you just don't have a shot out the gate. So not really against speed on him entirely, but again, at the same time, if you're going to do it, really commit to, because right now he's sitting at 302, and I've looked at your speed mods overall. They're not bad. Like, you have a pretty good depth for a 6 million account, and when we look up all your characters in general, if I had to make an exact recommendation, take mods off of Rex. Swap them around between him and Grandmaster Yoda, figure out a way to do it. Rex really kind of caps out on viability after about 300 speed, just because his unique catches them up, and really no other counter is going to be able to step in front that it's going to be relevant after that. So maybe strip some speed off him. But again, you've got some pretty good speed investment on a lot of characters. Maybe taking some off Adrad too. I don't think he necessarily needs to be that fast, although I'm guessing those will probably succeed due to your profundity fleet. But getting back to the Jedi, and as far as Grandmaster Yoda goes, get him higher speed. I don't know how I feel about the amount of crit chance you have on him. I think the reason you have this much crit chance isn't actually for the crit chance, but it's for the speed, and I'm fully behind that. If you want to put a plus 25 on him and it just happens to have a crit chance primary, that's fine. That being said, one of the really sad things about Grandmaster Yoda is he's just really never going to crit. Even with you having the primary and a set on him and Giant Luke's lead, you're still only getting to about 85%, which means he's not going to be consistently critting. And if they have any type of crit avoidance, then he's also it's just going to go into the dirt. So I don't love that. I see why you're doing it, and if at the end of the day the goal of that is speed, then that's fine. Again, and we're going to be actually moving on to Hoda right now. And this is going to be the best argument for moving your Grandmaster Yoda to pure offense, is that Hoda can be the one that's fast, and he can be the one that's getting things going. This does need a lot of improvement if you can stretch your speed mods. I know that that's one thing that kind of every character wants, but a lot of these are really just thinking low, and Hoda really only needs one stat. He is not crazy for protection or health or anything else. And one thing I think that you could do to really up these numbers is break the set. What do I mean by that? So you have a speed set here for these 4, as well as you have a health set. Do not feel tied to giving him a health set. If you have one random crit chance mod that has 15-20 speed on it, and one random offense mod that also has 15-20 speed on it, get that on him and get his speed up, because if he's not taking turns, he's really not doing anything, especially when you transition into 3v3. A very common team is Jedi Luke, Hoda, and sometimes just the 2 of them, but like old Ben or something, and that's something that you can work towards. So get him faster, man. That's really the only thing he does. Don't really worry about survivability that much. It's kind of weird to go after Hoda versus everyone else in the first place anyways. Let's get the speed filter off this so I can see this a little bit better. So now we are finally up to Jolie. Jolie is a little awkward on this team. As Old Republic, he doesn't get to contribute to the lead that much. But again, we've already reviewed kind of where your roster is at, and I get the mentality behind what we're doing here. That being said, your Jolie's about half right. Jolie cares about 2 stats more than anything, and that is health and tenacity. The reason why he cares about tenacity is because this fun little unique here where it says he has 100% tenacity, and at the start of the battle, he gains bonus crit avoidance equal to half of his tenacity. So if we do the math right now, where you currently have him modded, he's at 144%, which means you have about 72% critical avoidance. We want to get that over 100%. If you get that over 100%, he becomes a pain to kill, and if they can't kill him and he keeps reviving everyone, that's really when Jolie just starts becoming either a savior to you or just really annoying to the enemy player. That being said, I do like a lot of the health on here. I think that should be the focus. His kit overall just screams that he wants a lot of health. He's always constantly giving his allies stuff based on his own health, or the protection up as well. He gains 30% max health. He recovers 30% max health. Max health, max health, max health. But one of the things you can do, also, by the way, his speeds are okay. You can have about plus 10s on Jolie. He's not crazy about it, especially when we're already reducing the enemy's team down to, I guess, 170 at your current modding. But yeah, get a tenacity set here. In fact, the mod that you currently have sitting on Hoda that's 12 speed, health set, tenacity primary, that would go really good here. That would be my suggestion. Move this over here, get some other random mod on Hoda that has high speed and that has a mismatch set, it doesn't matter, and up those numbers. Typically, one tenacity set and a tenacity primary is enough to push Jolie into 100% critical avoidance, which means he's really not getting crit unless somebody's using something like invulnerable or just SLKR or advantage or something like that that is always going to crit no matter what. So very close, but not quite there. Old Ben's going to need some work. Old Ben is going to need some work. He is currently modded for tenacity, so hey, maybe these can go over to Jolie. Maybe that's another solution we have. But on the Jedi Knight Luke team, you really want him to have a ton of potency. Again, we're reducing the enemy's team down to Jedi Knight Luke's base speed. So now turn meter is instantly way more valuable than was before because they're having a hard time getting their turns in the first place. If you can push them back 50%, it's so detrimental to the team. So this is really what we're focusing right here on here. Mind Trick is where you can reduce 60% turn meter and also apply ability block and offense down. Really great ability. I guess the turn on or the upside or the offside to this is if it is resisted, then you gain turn meter, but I would much rather reduce the enemy's turn meter because they have such a hard time getting it anyways. And to do that, dude needs potency. He does have potency up on his basic, which gets him to 80%, but we really need that to be over 120%. His speed can honestly also be a little bit higher too. While Old Ben is the tank, he wants to take turns. If he doesn't take turns, he doesn't taunt, he doesn't get his ability block, he doesn't get his potency up, he doesn't get any of that, and he needs to kind of go. So I would definitely suggest trying to get maybe some plus 10s or plus 15s on him. It looks like you already had the plus 10, so that is pretty cool, at least on most of them. Dude doesn't really need tenacity. I kind of get the argument. You don't want to be shocked or like a buff immunity or anything, but if he's not able to taunt in the first place or get those ability blocks, you're not really doing a whole lot. So he, honestly, out of the whole list, he's the one that you probably just strip them all off and start from scratch. So if you can get a potency primary here with another potency set, and then honestly just defense or health sets to make him tankier. Maybe a protection primary because the Jedi Knight Luke team does have protection recovery, so that can be beneficial. Do stick with the speed arrow for right now, and you're going to be looking pretty good. So again, if you have any questions, let us know in the comment section. And for all you who are out there watching it, who are just building a brand new team, or have a team that is never really working the way you want it to, head into the Discord link below and you can go in there and give us your entry for the 5 characters you want to be mod shamed in this environment. Until the next time, remember to stay awesome.